Hi, everybody. It's Tom Woods, October 16th, 2015. Some time ago on Facebook, about 500,000 people saw a question that I posed to supporters of Senator Bernie Sanders. And I want to pose that question again here because the answers I received were either non-existent or highly unsatisfactory. And the question runs like this. When most people around the world look at your lifestyle, even if you are middle or working class in the United States, it is as incredible to them as the lifestyle of the American 1% appears to you. Therefore, why can they, on the same principle that you claim, by which you can take from the 1%, why can they not take from you? Isn't the same principle at work in both cases? And the response I got was, oh, for heaven's sake, Bernie Sanders isn't running for president of the world. This issue is irrelevant. Well, the fact that he's not running for president of the world is, of course, incidental to the question, because the question has to do with principles, not what office the guy is running for. I understand this is not an issue that would come up as president of the United States. The point is, as a philosophical question, what is the reason that it's all right for us to help ourselves to the things of the 1%? Or what is the same thing, demand that they pay their fair share, when at the same time we deny the ability of people elsewhere in the world to come up to us and say, you should give us our fair share of your things. Why do we admit the one but deny the other? After all, it's sheer luck by which you got to be born in one of the richest countries in the world. Why should you enjoy all those benefits? Shouldn't you disperse them across the entire world? And yet, when it comes to yourself, it's easy to demand that other people give up their things, but why are we not quite so eager to give up our own things when it would appear that the same principle is at stake in both cases? Now, I will have people get upset at me. I'll have even some libertarians get upset at me and say, Woods, you know that a lot of the people in the 1% got their wealth in a disreputable way, and surely you're not going to defend that. Well, I don't know how many of them got their wealth in a disreputable way. Maybe some of them did, and if they did, then absolutely it should be taken from them. If they stole it, or they got it through fraud, or they got it because of some government privilege, then certainly this should be taken from them. But Bernie Sanders is not making any such subtle distinctions here. He's speaking in very broad strokes about the rich. Well, the top 1% pays about 40% of all the income taxes, and the top 10% pays about 70% of all the income taxes. That's not enough of a share? Now, it's true there is plenty of injustice in the world to be upset about, but unfortunately, Bernie Sanders is misdirecting the outrage. He seems to think the financial crisis was caused by greedy people. Now, that's just cartoonish. I mean, that's beneath you, really. If it were caused by greedy people, we would always be having a financial crisis. Why would greed just suddenly accelerate in particular years? Might there be an explanation for why the economy has this cyclical pattern? Well, if there is, we won't find it in the thought of Bernie Sanders. There's no discussion of the role that the Federal Reserve System might have played. So in other words, on the left, you're supposed to question authority. But the problem with Bernie Sanders is he doesn't question it at all. He doesn't question the major institutions of society. He doesn't really question the Fed. Trivially, he questions it, but not in its fundamentals. And yet the Fed played a central role in the financial crisis. And Sanders wants to focus on people who, frankly, are bit players in the whole drama. So I went ahead and put together a free ebook called Bernie Sanders is Wrong. And we go through all the claims he makes, whether it's about minimum wage rates and poverty and inequality and trade, or shouldn't we be like Scandinavia? Now, it's true the Scandinavian countries have many things to be said for them, but why is that? In fact, the Scandinavian countries come out pretty well in measures of economic freedom. They're actually highly capitalist countries, believe it or not, with simply very heavy public sectors. But it's a cartoonish view of Scandinavia that we typically get from Bernie Sanders. So I cover that. Should we really be like Scandinavia? All these sorts of issues that you see over and over again, whether it's renewable energy, all these sorts of claims are all answered at BernieIsWrong.com. You can get the free ebook there, or by texting the name Bernie to 33444. And by the way, for the past 2 years, Monday through Friday, I've hosted The Tom Woods Show, which is a libertarian podcast that takes on all the sorts of objections libertarians are likely to hear, whether from Bernie Sanders or otherwise. For example, if you hate government so much, why don't you move to Somalia? We take on that, and all the federal agencies that supposedly we couldn't live without, and our kids would have no limbs, and we'd all be poisoned to death by poison sandwiches, and all this sort of stuff. If you have a funny feeling that maybe that's cartoonish too, and maybe we were fed a bill of goods in the 7th grade, then you'll enjoy The Tom Woods Show. Become a smarter libertarian in 30 minutes a day. But check out BernieIsWrong.com, get your free ebook, and then head over and listen to my show over at TomWoods.com. Thanks for listening.